How's it going, friends? Welcome to a new video. I hope you are doing very well. This is the Honor 600 Lite that our friends at Phones de Guatemala sent me so I could test it out and bring you the full review. And as always, before I talk to you about performance, cameras, and user experience, let's quickly go over what we're gonna find inside the box. Because, by the way, it comes fully loaded. First of all, we find the phone, the tool to remove the SIM tray, manuals, a protective case, a USB Type-C cable, and we also have its charger included in the box, which, by the way, is very powerful. So at least here, we have practically everything necessary to start using it from day one. The version I have of this one is exactly 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of internal storage. I think that's just right. And now, let's get to the phone. Let's talk about its design. I honestly admit that I like the design quite a bit. It's a thin phone, it weighs only about 180 grams, and is approximately 7.3 millimeters thick. So, despite having a huge, quite large battery, it doesn't feel like a heavy phone. On the back, we have this huge module where we find the cameras. And personally, I think it gives it quite a bit of personality, honestly. Although, yes, I have to admit that this specific design will probably remind you quite a bit of a certain phone that we all know and recognize. Come on, I think so. On the side, we have the volume and power buttons, and also this additional button that we can configure for different functions. Within them, we'll find that we can use it to, for example, open the camera, turn on the flashlight, call the assistant, use artificial intelligence features, and other options, which is something that really grabs your attention. And something curious is that we can even use that same button to control the zoom when we're using the camera, both for photography and also in video. We also have dual SIM, NFC, and an under-display fingerprint reader, which worked perfectly and quickly during my tests. For resistance, we have IP66 certification against dust and water, although obviously this doesn't mean we should go around submerging it. Please take care of it. Yes, it's only splash resistance. And let's move on to talk about one of its strong points. We have a 6.6-inch AMOLED screen, quite high resolution, and also with a refresh rate that goes up to 120 Hz. And the truth is that it's a screen that is quite enjoyable. The colors look quite good, and we have excellent resolution as well. Plus, those 120 Hz make navigating between apps, social media, and the system itself feel incredibly smooth, leaving a really great impression. Honor also includes different technologies focused on eye care, including excellent high-frequency PWM dimming. But one of the specifications that really catches your attention is that 6,500 nits of peak brightness. Obviously, we're talking about very specific situations, but in my usage, I didn't have any major issues viewing the screen, for example, outdoors. And that also really caught my attention, that we have quite high brightness. In terms of software, we have Magic OS 10 based on Android 16. Here, Honor's really pushing hard on artificial intelligence. We have features like AI-powered subtitles, writing assistance translations, circle to search, Google Gemini, and different tools integrated within the system itself. But one of the features that caught my attention the most is inside the gallery. We can simply take a photo and then use advanced artificial intelligence to seamlessly convert that static image into a dynamic short video. I did several tests, and honestly, it's one of the quite interesting and entertaining features. I'll leave a test for you right here below. Honestly, this is the most affordable phone that you should buy. Hello friends, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We also have some pretty useful things for day-to-day life, like twin apps, wireless projection, Android Auto, and connectivity with Windows. In general, during the time I was using it, Magic OS felt quite stable and quite fluid. But now comes the important question: performance. How does this processor perform? Well, we have a Dimensity 7100 Elite accompanied by this version, which I told you about at the beginning, with 8 GB of RAM. So we can start with the performance test. But come on, this phone isn't for gaming. But obviously I had to test it. So I ran a comprehensive test for about 50 minutes, playing through several different titles just to find out exactly how far we can really push this processor to the limit. And we're starting with the first game. I know you're gonna like Call of Duty Mobile. This was definitely the area where it struggled the most to keep up. Depending on the specific graphical settings you choose, the performance was consistently hovering right around 40 to 50 frames per second, which is a bit lower than I was hoping for. Yes, and the experience was quite stable. It's recommended to lower the graphics quality a bit. Is it playable? Yes, but if we want a much more consistent experience, I would personally prefer to sacrifice the graphics a bit and keep a more moderate configuration. Also, I found something I didn't like, and I'll tell you right now: the gyroscope sensor. It has a certain lag. It doesn't respond properly and immediately, and this is noticeable mainly if we are used to aiming using the phone's movement. I hope Honor can fix this with an improvement via an update. And yes, it does affect the experience, at least for those who use the gyroscope sensor. I don't use it, so I'm just explaining it to you. Then we moved on to PUBG Mobile. Here, the story was completely different. I managed to play at around 60 FPS, and the experience was quite smooth. The same thing happened with Free Fire Max, where I was able to play with a pretty good experience, and also getting close to 60 FPS. I also tested other games, and in general, as long as we understand that we are dealing with a mid-range device and adjust the graphics correctly, we can play perfectly fine. Now, the temperature. If it heats up, well, in my country, we have between 23 and 26 degrees Celsius, meaning it's not necessary to use a fan. But especially when playing for quite a long time, my test reached temperatures of 41 degrees, or even getting close to 45 degrees. But is it playable there? Yes, but honestly, I didn't experience any unexpected restarts that would actually affect my gameplay. So for casual games, it performs quite well. If what you're mainly looking for is heavy, high-performance gaming, then obviously there are definitely better options out there for you. But here comes probably one of the greatest strengths of this phone. We have a huge 6520 mAh battery with 45 watt fast charging. And remember that my test wasn't just opening a game for 5 minutes and that's it. I was playing for approximately 51 minutes. And do you know how much I finished with? I checked and I had around 96% battery remaining. Obviously, the consumption can change depending on the game, brightness, connection, and settings we are using. It doesn't mean that we're all gonna get exactly that result, but in my experience, it made it quite clear that battery life is one of its strong points. And we also have bypass charging. This really useful feature allows us to power the phone directly from the charger while we're playing, effectively avoiding constant battery usage and keeping the device cooler during long sessions. So even though it's not a phone specifically designed for gaming, I think this feature is an absolutely excellent addition from Honor that really helps with long-term battery health. Well done! Now let's move on to the sound. We have stereo speakers here, and Honor actually allows you to considerably increase the volume level right from the operating system itself, and I really love that feature. But instead of just explaining to you how it sounds, let's listen to it together next with a quick test. And finally, we arrive at one of the sections we were really looking forward to testing the most, the camera system. On the back, we have a high-resolution 108 megapixel main camera, which is accompanied by a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera for those wider shots. Then, moving over to the front, we have a 16 megapixel selfie camera, and there is actually a pretty curious detail up here. This small space we see right next to the front camera isn't just for decoration, it serves a specific purpose. What do you think is in there? We have a front-facing flash, so we can easily use it for selfies whenever we are in low lighting conditions. Plus, it also cleverly serves as a dynamic island, which is really useful for things like incoming notifications. And that gives us, well, a night mode, a portrait mode for photography, high resolution, pro mode, panorama, time-lapse, and some additional features offered by its camera section. I'm telling you this quickly because I already did an unboxing of it. It can also record in full HD resolution at 30 frames per second, both with the rear camera and the front one as well. Here, I definitely would have liked it to at least have come with 4K, at least the main camera, but the numbers only tell part of the story, because I was using these cameras during the day, but I also went out to test them at night. So I'd rather just give you my honest opinion on whether they're actually that good or that bad. Now that we've covered that, let's move on to the photo and video tests. Honestly, the rear camera on this Honor 600 Lite is impressive. Look, the result is quite good. Very natural colors, a very good autofocus when it comes to an object or a person. For taking photos of this caliber, it really has delivered a good result, 10 out of 10. While in normal mode, look over here at a good photo. Now, when we apply ultra-wide mode, it does lose a little bit of detail. You're seeing it, but there's a wider field of view. We have normal mode here, then we also apply an ultra-wide mode photograph. The same thing happens. There's a wider field of view, but we lose a bit of resolution. The autofocus is very good, I have to say, because it focuses very well, spectacularly, on the first object in the foreground, especially the bees. We also have another quite remarkable autofocus here. I really like it. The focus also did very well, with a nice blurry background, just like with this other plant. Look at that great blur. I really like the main camera. The selfie camera has also taken quite an incredible leap. I really like how it performs, although there is a little bit of noise when we take a photo in crop mode, portrait mode. The normal photo came out very well, with quite natural colors. Here we do have a photo with a good crop, a good portrait. Here we also have another very good and remarkable photograph. It'll always depend on the type of lighting you have. Here we also have a good photograph. The selfie is quite remarkable. Here we have another photo in portrait mode, crop mode, and it did quite well. This is a test in night mode with the selfie camera using the flash. That's alright guys, although considering there's a little bit of noise on the right, we're seeing it, but it captured the face perfectly. This means the flash actually works. Here we also have one with just the flash and low lighting. Look, the result has been good, satisfactory. I should say it's fine and correct. The rear camera in night mode, look, the result has been quite good. There's artificial intelligence here everywhere because the sky's turning blue. It's something impressive for this type of device. You're seeing it right now. Here, the sky turned blue all at once. How about that, huh? Wow! No, well, it's not bad at all, although there's a little bit of noise, right? But the flash is good. Look, let's go somewhere where there's no lighting other than just the flash. Look. There's practically nothing here, and the flash actually works quite well, seriously. Now this is how it records in night mode. It's not bad at all, seriously. Yeah. Just like we can also turn on the flash, but come on, the selfie camera is truly incredible with its flash. Look. Where there's almost no lighting, there's a bit of noise, but it's understandable, right? It's not a high-end device either. Now, well, it's remarkable. Even so, the autofocus works well too. Look. Ah, how cool. How great. As we've already seen, it did pretty well in night mode, although it really lacks quite a bit of stability. We're looking at it right now. This is a recording at 1080p at 30 frames per second. The autofocus actually works quite well, even with zoom up to 2 times, which is digital. Here we're walking, and then this is ultra-wide mode. Let's remember that the photos also stood out perfectly, having a bit more field of view, but it lost a bit of resolution. Here, there isn't a noticeable change where, well, it loses resolution. Honestly, it's good. This is the dual view mode. The problem here is that the resolution's quite low, right? It's 720p, it's not full HD, that's the reason it looks that way. But nevertheless, well, it looks pretty good. This is for when we're in a place where there's a favorite artist and we want to zoom in, and at the same time, we want to be in the shot and say, yes, I'm here at the concert. Now this is a test, but with its selfie camera. I'm walking, okay? Alright guys. Perfect. It doesn't blow out my face, and it leaves the background looking very good. Here is another test where, likewise, it does shake a little bit. It happened the same way with its rear camera. Honestly, it has passed the test. Good for Honor. And, well, friends, after seeing all the tests, I think we can now understand much better what kind of phone this Honor 600 Lite is. It's not a phone focused primarily on gaming. The Dimensity 7100 Elite allows us to play titles like PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, Free Fire Max, and also Bloodstrike, which, by the way, I liked quite a bit, with decent graphics. And personally, I think the gyroscope needs a little bit of improvement. However, for daily use, we have a 120Hz AMOLED screen that looks quite good, a fluid system, many artificial intelligence features, and above all, that I liked. The battery is huge. 6,520 milliamp hours was probably one of the things that surprised me the most during my tests. As for the cameras, you've already been able to see the results both during the day and at night and draw your own conclusions. And something I do like is that Honor is offering a pretty complete phone for someone who is mainly looking for good battery life, a good screen, photography for day and night, which we already saw, and artificial intelligence to convert a photo into a video. It's not perfect. I would have liked to find at least 4000K recording on its rear camera, and the gyroscope needs improvement. Those are details that could still be improved with a future update, but after having used it and thoroughly tested it, in general, the Honor 600 Lite really left me with a quite good impression. So consider it. I'll leave the price right here. It might be a little cheaper in your country, or it might be a little more expensive. And well, that's it for this review. Many thanks to our friends at Phones for letting me test it, and to you all for always stopping by this channel. I'll leave the respective gaming test in the comments section, even though it's not meant for gaming, and also the unboxing, where I go a bit beyond its features and specifications so you can see it. So I'll see you in the next video. Leave your powerful like and your juicy subscription. Take care.